Governor Williams grew up in Johnston County, North Carolina, which is the first time we see him having any sort of political or military involvement. On October 6, 1773, Benjamin Williams took oath as an adjutant of the Johnston County Militia. This is the first real record we have of Benjamin Williams, first written record we have of Benjamin Williams that shows up for us. Just under a year later, Benjamin Williams is nominated as a delegate for the first Provincial Congress that is going to be held in New Bern, North Carolina. Now, it's important to point out that at this first Provincial Congress, Benjamin Williams is only 23 years old when he goes to New Bern to represent Johnston County. The other thing to point out about this Provincial Congress is that it is the first such gathering anywhere in the 13 colonies, and it is held in defiance of British orders. This first Provincial Congress consisted of 69 delegates from 30 of the then 36 counties here in North Carolina. This Congress also approved the Continental Congress representatives. They elected William Hooper, Joseph Hughes, and Richard Caswell to go on and serve as the delegates to the Continental Congress. This Congress also approved a trade boycott against British actions against New England. So this is the first real political involvement we see Benjamin Williams taking part in. We here at Horseshoe like to call Benjamin Williams one of the forgotten founding fathers of North Carolina. And as we go through his actions in the early days of North Carolina and the American Revolution, we'll see that he's actually very involved in a lot of the political movements that go on here during the American Revolution. Benjamin Williams also goes on to the second and third Provincial Congress that are held in New Bern and then in Hillsborough. The third Provincial Congress is the one who separates the state up into 6 different military districts for the purpose of militia, organizing the militias, getting ready for the American Revolution. Those 6 districts include Edenton, Halifax, Hillsborough, New Bern, Salisbury, and Wilmington. In September of 1775, Benjamin Williams is appointed as a lieutenant in the 2nd North Carolina Continental Regiment. He will serve with the 2nd Regiment for a number of years. In July of 1777, the 2nd North Carolina Regiment is transferred into the North Carolina Brigade under Brigadier General Francis Nash. It's under this command that the 2nd North Carolina takes place in some of its largest battles. The 2nd North Carolina is present at both Brandywine and Germantown. These are both British victories. Germantown results in very heavy losses for the Continental Army, including the North Carolina Regiment that is involved there. They were encamped at Valley Forge in the winter of 1777 and 1778 under George Washington, and then involved in the Battle of Monmouth in June of 1778. A year later, in 1779, Benjamin Williams resigned his commission as captain with the 2nd North Carolina Regiment. When Cornwallis and his British forces begin to threaten North Carolina, Benjamin Williams decides to go back into his military career. And in 1779, he is commissioned a colonel of the Johnston County Militia. In 1780, he is appointed to the staff of Major General Richard Caswell. This is the Richard Caswell who will become a governor, another future governor of North Carolina. It is while he is serving with the North Carolina Militia that he is engaged in the Battle of Camden, South Carolina in August of 1780. In March of 1781, he serves at the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, and because he served so bravely during this battle, he is actually elevated. He is promoted to colonel of the newly created North Carolina State Regiment. It is in August of 1781 that he marries his wife, Elizabeth Jones, and then a few months later, in November of 1781, he resigns his commission as colonel. He does cite that he is resigning because of lack of funding, lack of support, and lack of supplies, which are the same issues that the regiments had had earlier on in the war, and those issues never seemed to be resolved. After his military career is over, Benjamin Williams returns to political life. He represents represents Craven, Johnston, and Moore counties in the General Assembly for a number of years. And even in 1793, he was elected out of New Bern to serve in the United States House of Representatives. He serves one term from 1793 to 1795 and has failed to get reelected after that 1795 term of office. While he is serving in the General Assembly, Benjamin Williams is elected governor. Governor Williams was elected for the first time on November 23rd, 1799. And between 1799 and 1806, Williams will have been nominated and run for a governor candidate 6 different times. The first time he is elected in 1799, he serves 3 consecutive terms, being elected in 1799, 1800, and 1801. It's on 4 main issues. And these 4 issues included a land fraud ring here in North Carolina, border issues with South Carolina. He faced 2 slave revolt scares. These slave revolt scares happened in Halifax and then in Camden counties. And these were just scares. There were no actual slave revolts. He did allow militia to do heavier patrolling of these areas in order to prevent a possible slave uprising, but there never was one. This threat seemed to be inconclusive. They were probably a result of slave uprisings in the Caribbean that had been successful through the past year. And the 4th thing he did, which is really what Governor Williams is very and the fourth issue he dealt with is probably his most famous while he was governor. And this was dealing with the duel between former Governor Richard Dobbs Speight and Representative John Stanley. They had fought a duel, and Stanley, of course, had murdered Speight. And in the end, Governor Williams actually pardons John Stanley for the murder of former Governor Richard Dobbs Speight. While he is governor in 1800, during the July 4th celebration, there's a very large party held in Raleigh to celebrate independence. And what went along with this celebration included multiple toasts. Celebration is actually talked about in a letter from Thomas Jefferson to James Madison, both very familiar names among the founding fathers of the United States. And in Jefferson's letter dated July 20th of 1800, he mentions to Madison, he says, "I see in Gale's papers of July 8th, an account of the 4th of July celebrated at Raleigh. The governor," he's talking about Benjamin Williams, "offered many toasts, and among these toasts were the following." And he lists a few of them, and they include: "For the United States, may she continue to be free, sovereign, and independent. For the President of the United States, for the Vice President of the United States, for the Navy of the United States." And there were multiple toasts within this celebration that Thomas Jefferson talks about and are listed in the Gale's paper dated from July 8th. And they go on, and it was a very large celebration. So Governor Williams was known to some of our more formidable founding fathers that we're much more familiar with. He would have served his political career in the U.S. House of Representatives with some of these founding fathers. And as well as while he's serving as governor, he has correspondence with people like Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton. We have record of this showing that he is in conversation with not only North Carolina founding fathers, but also the founding fathers of our country. Benjamin Williams purchased House in the Horseshoe in 1799 and renamed the residence Retreat. Retreat becomes his place to come to and relax, to get away from politics and business and focus on farming and other pleasures, as he said. And in 1799, when he is elected governor, he purchases a home, a large brick home in downtown Raleigh. He gets 2 adjoining lots on the corner of Hargett and McDowell Street in order to make a residence in Raleigh while he is serving as governor. Office to his political affairs and all the appointments that need to be kept while he is serving as governor. And his last day of governor for his first set, Governor Williams does serve 2 different terms as governor, that first one being 3 consecutive 1-year terms. He had served his 3 consecutive terms, and his last day of governor was December 6th, 1802. And he sold his Raleigh residence because he no longer needed it. After that, he took about an approximate 5-year hiatus from politics until he is elected to represent Moore County in the state legislature. And it's during that 1807 session that he is once again elected governor. This time he is elected governor for just 1 year. It's one term, and this will be his last term as governor. Almost done with his political career. He is once again elected to represent Moore County in the state legislature in 1809. And when that session ends, when that term is over, he officially retires from politics and turns his attention to his farm, to his plantation here at House in the Horseshoe. It's after his political career is over that Governor Williams, who actually preferred to be called Colonel rather than Governor in later years of life, because he held his position in the Continental Line and within the Continental Army while the American Revolution is going on, so dear to him that he preferred to be called Colonel. And while here at House in the Horseshoe, or retreat as he called it, when guests would come visit, he would actually showcase the bullet holes that are left in the side of the house. He saw them sort of as a badge, as a place of honor, that this house, attacked by Tories, attacked by British sympathizers, was kind of a patriotic beam in his eye, that he saw these bullet holes as a representation of what America and what the United States had went through in order to gain their independence.